Hello, we are back for our third hour of the DreamSpire Viral Book Fair. I hope you've been hanging with us. I hope you're enjoying the day. Gosh, I can't believe how quick this time has gone. And we're down to our final authors, and I just can't wait to hear from them. We're going to hear, it's going to be ladies before gentlemen. So we're going to hear from Jane, and then we're going to hear from our guys to wrap it up and to close it out. We're going to have our opening commercial, and then we're going to get right into it with Jane. Welcome to DreamSpire Books Virtual Book Fair. Join us today. You can also catch the replay on our website, www.dreamspirebook.com. We have amazing authors that are joining us today, from children's books to steamy fiction. Again, you are not going to want to miss this. See you there. Okay, Jane, you have been hanging with me since, what was it, noon?
I called you at 10 Mountain Standard Time.
Yes, you have definitely spent the day with us, and we appreciate it. Definitely, you probably wrote 5 chapters by now.
Had lunch.
Okay, well, you're doing better than me. I haven't had a chance to have lunch, but that's okay. I can, I'll be okay. I definitely gained my COVID 2025. So I can do without lunch. I'll be okay. Well, we're glad to have you. You kind of came in through our Eventbrite page, and we're definitely glad to have you as a part of the DreamSpire family. And as I announced earlier, you're not only going to be able to connect with Jane here, but her books, well, not probably not all 12, but we'll pick three, are the one that she's promoting, and it will be on our website for a year. So you'll have a whole year. So I know you write something. I love a good mystery writer. I love a good story of intrigue. Um, I I just grew up just reading everybody, just anything that I can get my hands on, mystery, and I to the day I'm big into that. On film, I don't even want to tell you all the series, especially with Netflix, where you can watch 10 years worth of mysteries. I really like the British ones as well. As the little lady, I can't think of her name, the lady detective. I think I've watched everything that I can get my hands on. So tell me, how did you get started in writing, and what took you down the path to write the type of books that you write, and kind of tell us about that.
Okay. First of all, it appears my camera has frozen. Both me and you. Are you seeing the same issue on your end?
No, I see you fine and you're moving.
Okay. My camera's frozen, but I guess that's fine as long as you can see me.
I
Okay.
can.
So I started writing. Geez, my first story must have been when I was 8 years old. And I wrote it because my big sister was a big writer, and I wanted to be just like her. Whenever she went on a bike ride, I'd go with her. Whenever she climbed trees, I'd climb trees with her. I just wanted to be like my big sister, and so she wrote stories. I'm like, yeah, I got to write stories too. So I would just write stories, and then so my big sister, she doesn't write anymore. She actually paints, but she started that desire to write in me, and that coupled with, at the time growing up, I loved fantasies. I read all the Dragonlance series, big fantasy. I love dragons and all of that stuff. So I set out to write my very first fantasy. I think I was definitely 15. Uh, so my it's been a growing process, and my first journey into writing was this big fantasy. And I'm an introvert, and so I didn't really. I mean, I had some friends, but a lot of time I just spent by myself, just playing games in my own head. And I liked these games so much that I actually thought out a story for them, and so I sat down to actually write the story. And I've just been doing it ever since.
So, what did your parents think about when you came at 15 and said, "Here, mom and dad"? Well, I know it said your sister was a writer, so maybe they were used of it by then.
I I don't know. I think back on it, and my mom really was, and my dad weren't not involved in my writing. I just did it, and my mom looked over and saw that I was writing. Hey, what are you doing? I'm writing a story. Okay, cool. And then that was it. So I didn't share my writing with them. I didn't talk about my writing to them. It was just my own little world. They weren't actually involved in any of that process.
So, when did you get your first book published?
My first book is actually this one. I can't see my camera, so I hope you can see it.
I can see you fine. That's weird that you can.
It's
Okay.
that's my debut novel. It's published in 2016. I I had to go with traditional publishing because I am just poor. I could not afford a editor or a cover designer, and so I just made sure to write really, really good and pitch my query to publishers until I finally found one. I was rejected 47 times over the course of 2 years.
Wow.
My my current publisher finally picked it up, and so she paid for, of course, the editing and the cover and everything. Uh, I think I lost track of the question you asked.
Oh no, that's I love that path because right now the majority of books are self-published. So it's kind of like in reverse where we used to learn how need to learn how to self-publish. Now people need to learn how to go to that publisher route, how to get that out there. And a lot of people don't like that the rejection part of it. It's fine the writing, but to really 47 times, my goodness. And
you
so
know,
what made you think like, okay, I'm going to go for that 48th?
So actually, that's a good question. That's exactly what I did. Is I heard a tip after I got like 6 rejections. And it's like a punch to the heart. Like, wow. And because you've read the story, you like it, but of course you're biased, so you're not a really good opinion on it. But I would hand it out to strangers on my little writing community, and they would read it and say, "Wow, what a really good story!" And so I knew I had a good story. It was just a matter of finding the right agent. And the first problem I had was I was actually pitching to the wrong agents and publishers. I was calling it a just a new adult fantasy when actually it was a romance. Somebody, after I'd been rejected so many times, I gave it to somebody to read, and like, okay, can you find anything wrong with it? And he gave it back like, wow, what a really good romance. And I'm like, whoa, 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 I didn't write a romance. I didn't write a romance. And then I looked at it and I was like, oh my gosh, I actually did. I wrote a romance. So as soon as I finished, corrected that problem, I then started pitching my novel as a romance to agents, publishers who represent romance, and that's when my current publisher picked it up. But aside from that, I got a tip from somebody to deal with rejections, and they said, you know what, collect them. They create a folder on your desktop that literally says 100 rejections and reach 100. I'm like, cool. And so every time I get a rejection, like, cool, one more toward 100. And I just kept cranking it out, and I just collect them. And then number 48 was my publisher, like, hey, we like it. And we're like, oh, bummer, I don't get to reach 100. I was a little disappointed. But it really helped my mindset, put it in the right place, and not like I got excited about them. Like, yes, another one.
I
um,
love it. I love it.
so yeah, it was just a mind game I played with myself, and it worked.
Well, awesome, because I know probably after about 10, I'd have been like, okay, what, self published? Yeah, sounds really attractive. by now, but just the fact that you had the tenacity to keep going until you got the yes. That's a lesson in itself. That's a book within itself, to have that tenacity to keep going, to know, you want to get your voice out there. But another thing that you touched on is important. We interviewed on our platform an author, John Good, and he writes mysteries. And he started as a poet. Well, he started as an accountant, and someone dared him to go to a poetry group. And he went and he loved it. And then he started doing short stories, and he just put out his first novel, and it's science fiction. But the part that I want to touch on that you said, he became number one in his category because he understood how to do that nuance in that category. And it's very important to know what your book is. And that sounds funny. And it can be, because sometimes we don't know what to categorize our books. Is it self-help? Is it a love story? Is it triumphant, or what it is? And it's so important to know. We, in our head, we might have something, but to really get into that niche. And once you got into that niche, then it seems like, okay, now I'm on the right path. So I think that's a very important lesson for all writers to know. What the heck are you writing? Okay, what are people seeing it as? Because if your messaging is off, it's just like marketing something. That if you're not reaching your niche audience, then you can have the greatest product in the world, but if you're going to try to sell water to fish, then you're probably not going to be that successful. So I think that's an important lesson to learn, what it is that you're writing. And so this is your first book published. So where did the other 10 fall in? Are you still trying to get to that 100 rejection? Are you locked in with the publisher? Do tell.
So my current publisher, she only publishes adult novels, meaning that the main character is 18 years or older. So the War Queen, that's what I'm talking about. It's an adult, and so she published it. And then I have a 3-book series. Since I'm an in-house author, she just also published them. They're also in the age category of being adult. And then I have a 5-book series. That's actually the series that I started writing when I was 15, and I rewrote it like 4 times. But the main character in that book, he's 13, and so my publisher won't publish it because she doesn't. That's not her platform. So I have started on the rejection journey with that book, and I'm up to 33 on
Wow.
on that series. And it's kind of interesting now because the way the world has changed now. It's trying to get in with an agent and a publisher. It's a little different than it used to be
Oh,
because
absolutely.
now when I look at agents, I actually stalk agents, and they always have like their wish list of this is the type of genre we wish to publish, and like all of them, they definitely want to have an LGBTQ element. A lot of them want to have people of color, and super cool. I'm glad for the representation that's getting out there. That gives a lot of people hope. But my book, I mean, is I don't have LGBTQ in it, and so I fall off that. And then I'm not a person of color, and so I fall off that. And so my chances are like, okay, what do I got going for me? But I query them anyway because a lot of them say, but I mean, if you have a good story, we'll take it. So I query them on the hope that they just like it enough. So, but that's my journey for that one right now.
Okay, yeah, and that's the thing, because it can be trendy, and especially in the spaces that I am, it can be like very trendy. And how do you get your word out there, and how do you stay true to your voice, and not try to just write to be in a certain category because it's trendy. Okay, let me throw this character in here. It has nothing germane to do with the story that I'm trying to tell, but I want to be accepted. So that's a very real thing, to be authentic to your voice. No, whatever it is that you're writing, don't to not to just write something because it's the end thing to write. And I think one of the things with social media in the world that we live in, it's so easy to become trendy.
Oh,
It's, oh, where'd you go?
I lost you. Am I
Okay.
still there? Okay. Oh, my
There's,
camera works.
okay,
I
she's
got my
back
camera to
again.
work again.
Oh yeah, well you were always moving on this side, but it
Okay.
is, it is a thing not to be sucked into that thing, and then not to let other people categorize you. So, it's finding your voice, and not to let people categorize you. And in your case, collecting rejections, I guess, was part of it. But, hey, as long as you make it a game, because there are always going to be more doors that are closed than are open, and it is a thing, to keep on going wherever the path. And even sometimes when you have some success, it's to how do you follow that back up. And I think for writers, and particularly, I think it all just starts with the love of writing. I think if you're not in it because you really love to put the words down on paper, then you can, become discouraged if you're writing for other people. Of course, we all want people to hear us and to understand and connect with what we're writing, but for me as a writer, I could say it's important for me to connect with that voice. My first book was poetry, and honestly, I just wrote it because people were bugging me. They were like, "You need to put out a book." So I was like, "Okay, here's a book." I didn't promote it. I didn't do anything with it because I did it for someone else. I really didn't do it for myself. I was good of just going to the open mic or going on Blog Talk Radio, whatever we were doing back then. So it's important. So I love to see the tenacity. I think, like I said, I think that's a lesson in itself. So what's next? What's next
For what?
for you? What are you writing on next? Or do you
So,
ever? Let me ask you this. I'm gonna give you a two-parter. So do you, with, again, as I was talking to the ladies earlier, your type of writing is a type of writing when I read a book, and I haven't read your book, but I can kind of almost tell that it's a very involved story. So have you thought about wanting to see your stories on screen?
oh yeah, that's always been the goal. Every book I write, it's like, wow, this would look really cool on TV. So that's always my hopes and dreams. I'm going to shoot for it and see if I get it. But but yes, I would love to have all my books as super popular TV shows.
Okay, you said that TV, that's interesting. So who do you see playing, if you could cast it, who would you cast?
I don't actually watch TV myself. Uh, so I don't know have any actors. I don't know actors. I know faces. Um, hmm. The only one I can think of, okay, I don't know her name. Oh, what movie does she play in? She plays in Miss Peregrine's Peculiar Children. She's the main headmistress. Have you seen the show?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, she's a very dominating female, and she played a villain in another movie, and she was a very good villain, but she was always also a very good person, dominating female in the other movie she played. And I thought she would be a very good character to play for Altarn in The War Queen. But
Okay.
that's really all I've casted so far.
Okay, I wonder who I would get to play mine. I don't know. Maybe Oprah. Somebody. Or Jennifer. Jennifer, what is Jennifer's last name? She's the who.
Jennifer Lopez.
No, no.
Oh,
I forget her name. She plays on Blackish. She plays the mom on Blackish. She's a hoot. So we're gonna put where people can connect with you and where they can get your book. Again, we're gonna put some of your books up on our website for the following year. We're gonna have another quick one question roundtable, and then we're gonna get into the guys and close this thing out. But you can connect with Jane M. Robinson or J.M. Robinson. here and check it out if you want a good, intriguing love story. Okay, it's a love story. Okay, now that we've established that.
Yeah,
All right. Oh, thank you for being with us today. I hope you stay for our round table question.
will do. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So you can read The Queen of War. Is going to
The War
be
Queen.
available. The War Queen. See, I see it right there. The War Queen, and you can connect with her here. Definitely catch that QR code if you want to connect. We're going to rebroadcast this. The book is also going to be on our website, and so we'll give you a couple more seconds to get that there. And then we're going to have a quick roundtable for those that are there. We're going to ask a couple about one question. Then I'm going to piggyback what I ask you, and then we're going to close this thing up. Okay. Let's, okay, fun with the. Thank you guys for hanging with us. So I'm going to ask the question that I asked to Jane. If you could pick one actor, if you want to see your book on screen, one actor or actress, who would you pick to play your character? A character. I'm gonna start with you, Dr. Howard. Okay, you're on mute though.
Sorry, just unmuted. Now, for mine, it would need to be an ensemble cast, so it wouldn't be just one person picked out, but to pick out one who might play the hero or the main hero, Michael B. Jordan would probably be my top pick.
Okay, you know he just got sexiest man alive.
And you know that's not important to me.
Hey, I don't know. Okay, Michael B. Jordan. Okay, what about you, Deontay?
Um, I actually have to think about it. Definitely a fan. I love body the character and how to show through perfect pain. I think.
Okay, I don't know whether it's your end or my end, but I'm unplugged, so you might want to check your sound. Yeah, I'm not sure. How about you, Lane Bird?
Well, mine would be a voiceover, basically. So I would love for Regina King to play Uniqua and the voiceover.
Awesome. Just make sure if you're listening to this on another device other than StreamYard that you turn the sound off, because that can sometimes give us an echo. Okay. How about you, Mrs. Grimes?
Well, someone I would really love to depict the More Than a Pretty Face book would possibly be Kerry Washington,
Okay.
because I loved her in the Scandal and
Okay.
how she portrayed herself in the Scandal. I would love to have you possibly Kerry Washington.
Awesome. Okay, well, I'm glad we're going to bring our last two guests on. We're going to play one little commercial break, and then we're going to come back with Deontay, and then we save the best for last. Dr. Howard, you're going to close it out. You're going to bring it home for us. DreamSpire Books Virtual Launch Box. Everything you need for a successful virtual book launch in one place. Timelines, press release templates, social media advertising info, graphic design, an interview on our streaming network, and a personal coaching session. Don't forget your thank yous and so much more. Visit us at www.dreamspirebooks.com
for more information.
And we are back to close. We're almost to the close, but we saved the gentleman for last. And so we're here with Deontay Bolden, and you have your book. I would love definitely to hear. We talked, you've been with us throughout the whole thing, so we kind of got some of your input along the way through the day, and we're glad to have you with us. But tell us about your book, and why did you feel the need to get it out there in at this time?
Yes. Well, first off, thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here today on your amazing platform. But Purpose Pains is my introspective autobiography, and it's basically me encouraging people. Prior to this pandemic, I started writing the book, but I realized how important it was even during this pandemic to write a book that would encourage people. A lot of people have been laid off of their jobs. They've lost loved ones during this coronavirus period. And I just wanted to write something that would encourage people that even though we're going through a painful experience, that we can still come out on the other side refreshed, renewed, and better and strengthened. And Purpose Pains is basically me also being transparent, talking about my own struggles growing up. I had a brother who was disabled in a wheelchair. He had muscular dystrophy, and he passed in 2006. And I just wanted to talk about my own personal experiences, how I've overcome challenges to be able to show people that even though you go through things in life, and I was also in a single family home, my mom and dad divorced when I was 4 years old, that once you go through those challenges, it helps to make you stronger. And I often ask myself the question, had I not went through a lot of the things that I went through, losing my brother at 18 years old, having been raised in a single family household and going through a lot of the experiences and challenges that I presented in this book, would I still be the same person I am today? So I want people to understand that leaving this and after reading this book, that you can either wallow in your pain and what you've experienced in life, or you can use that to push you more towards your destiny, because God has a purpose for our pains, and we all have our own personal challenges, but we learn and we grow from them. And I break down in the book, the acronym of PAIN. P is for preparation, preparing you for where, you're going. You go through those experiences because it prepares you. A is adaptation, learning how to adapt to the changes in your lives. Some of us have been laid off on our jobs. Some of us have been evicted from our homes, but you learn how to adapt, not get comfortable, but adapt to those changes and know how you can move forward from there. Illumination, it's the period of learning who is God shines light on our circle, who's supposed to be in your circle, who you need to let go. We often say that tough times reveal true colors of people, and God shines light within us. What's in you that you need to remove that's causing you to be attached to people who are attached to your history and not your destiny. In is navigation. We often think that when we go through these painful experiences, it's taking us off course of where God wants us to be, but God is still navigating us, to where we need to be. It's all a part of the process. And then S is supplication, learning that we need God daily in our lives. And we need to be able to get to a point where we can just come to him and rely on him to get us through these difficult times. So that's what Purpose Pains is.
Okay. And so that, how was the outlay of the book? Again, I can go to when I wrote my book. My book is not really a chapter book, it's a lesson book. So you can pick it up at anywhere and read it individually. You don't have to read it from beginning to the end.
Right.
And so in telling your story, is it more in a story form or more in a journal form, or how did you approach that?
It's more, I would say, more of a journal. It's not really a story. As I journal and I give instructions and life lessons, I also, add my own personal experiences, because you can tell anybody anything, but people are like, well, what have you went through that can relate to what I've been through? So I went through it back and forth, because a lot of things I did want to put into the book, but I felt like if it's going to help someone else and people are going to see me be transparent, then it's going to also help to, bring them in and make them realize that, hey, this guy has been through the exact same thing that I've been through. So it's more like a journal of my life, experiences. But, through this book, you also kind of go on that journey with me of life lessons, and I put my own personal life experiences in there to share as well. Because before I can teach you anything, I had to go through it myself. So.
Yeah, just like when I talked with the sugar mamas earlier,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a certain amount of vulnerability
Mm-hmm.
when you put yourself out there. So how did you cope with that? How did you force yourself to kind of get out there and tell your story, tell your truth?
Well, I realized that if I'm going to talk about purpose pains, then the first thing that people are going to want to know is what painful experiences have you went through if you're going to sit down and talk with me. And, I just realized that it's okay to be vulnerable and open. And a lot of times I realized even through this book, you have to go through the process and get your own therapy before you can also expect people to read what you have and get that therapeutic experience as well. So it was, it was a lot of, tears. It was a lot of, me going back to those painful experiences myself. But I realized that it was also comforting for me and it was therapeutic for me. And, when I was done after bawling, with tears, after writing the book and going through those, experiences, I realized that I felt a certain type of freedom as well, and it was like I was able to, be okay, with what I've experienced and went through with. And a lot of the things that I share in this book were very personal, but I just felt like it needed to be because somebody is going through the exact same thing that you're going through with. And if you're not sharing that, and I feel like you're cheating your readers. So.
For sure. And so, do you see a second? Now you said during the pandemic you're working on something else. So is the second book in the same vein, or is it something different?
I'm actually working on a children's book.
Okay.
It's still in the early stages, but I have also written a series based off of Purpose Pains, sharing people. It's not exactly like the book, but it's people who are various characters in the book have going through a lot of the things that I share in this book openly. So I was able to do that because after I wrote the book, I was like, something else I gotta go with this. And a lot of the readers who have read the book was like, you really need to turn this into something because this is, real. So I wrote a series. It's going to be a web series that I'm actually working on for the book. So that's coming as well. And yeah, I'm just out here, maybe a Purpose Pains too in the future, but I haven't wrote anything else, concerning that.
Okay. I think it's important for men and other men to see other men tell their story.
Right.
Because women, we tend to be more vocal in many cases. And not only that, it's okay for us to tell our story.
Right.
No one is going to come up to a woman like, man up, you know. So it's okay. But for men to allow themselves to be vulnerable, I think it's needed. And for men to write and really share, because there's a lot of trauma that has gone on unaddressed,
Absolutely.
and it hasn't been okay to tell your story and to get vulnerable
Right.
and to really let people see, it's really needed, especially in the African American community. We're just taught, toughen up, just
Right.
just deal with it. And then we see that trauma just come out in so many other ways. And a lot of times it's anger and violence because of things that haven't been dealt with
Right.
um, internally. And so it's very much needed for men, especially, to tell those type of stories, to let other men know it's okay
Absolutely.
um,
That's
to
definitely
to do that.
Purpose Pains because you're absolutely right. In the African American community, we're taught to man up. Don't share your feelings. You can't be too sensitive. But many of us are hiding behind a lot of pain, and in order for us to get through that, and for me to get through that, was writing. And what I want people to understand is that I've utilized my pain in a different way. I'm not out here doing things, violence or doing other things, but I've used my painful experiences as motivation to push me towards where God wants me to be and my destiny. And that's what I hope people understand. It's all about how you use the pain, or the painful experiences that will get you, to where you need to be. So,
Now, I got to hear an excerpt. I really want to hear some of this now.
yeah. So yeah, when you said it today, I was like, oh, I got a perfect one. So I'm just gonna read the first page of how I go into it and how I introduce it, because I think it's a great attention grabber. So it says, as we travel on the journey called life, we often face obstacles and challenges, which often leads to our most painful experiences. Life is constantly changing, and sometimes life will throw curveballs, and we end up playing with the cards that we're dealt. However, we serve a God who does exceedingly abundantly above all that we ever ask or think, and with Him all things are possible. According to the Lexile Dictionary, powered by Oxford, pain is defined as highly unpleasant physical sensation caused by illness or injury and mental suffering or distress. Pain comes in many forms such as death, injury, illness, disappointments, rejection, divorce, or breakup. I don't believe anyone likes a painful experience. Personally, I don't like pain because I'm the type of person who will ask God to let me see the blessing and not have to go through the pain. The truth is, pain is a blessing work, and pain and blessings work hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. It's like a woman in childbirth. She will experience the labor pains while continuing to push so she can experience the bundle of joy that it produces. Pain is just a process. God wants us to understand that we have to go through the process so we can experience the next phase. And I use childbirth because many women, they go through the childbirthing period and they go through all that pain because they know at the end of the day it's going to be the bundle of joy, their baby, their child, that's going to help to come into this world. So they go through all of that suffering and pain, and that's how we should look at our painful experiences. I have to go through this so I can get to where I need to be in life, and I hope people are encouraged by it. So.
Yeah, we have to definitely in childbirth, because that's the only way to get that baby out of us. So we have no choice. We got to birth those babies into the world.
Yeah.
Definitely, but there's not only pain in the process, but there's a way to process that pain. And I thank you for being brave enough to share that with us and with the world. So we thank you for hanging with us. We have uh, one more author to hear from, but we're going to put your information up. And like I said, your book will be up on our website for a year for you joining us.
Thank you.
And we're glad to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate what you're doing and providing the platform for us authors to share our stories. Thank you.
Oh, you're most welcome. So if you want to connect with Deontay Bolden, Purpose Pains, and he spelled it out for you. There is purpose in your pains, and you can grow from them. So you should know what to do by now with your smart device, and connect with our authors. As I said again, we're going to have a replay on all of this. So if you didn't join us, or you're just coming in late, don't be worried about it. You can join us and watch the replay of this and connect with our authors, because that's what it's all about: supporting each other, helping the authors get their voice out there. And that's why we're here today, to do that. And we're going to run our commercial again. We're just like the network. We'll run the same commercial over and over, so hopefully you'll connect. And then we'll be back with our last and our author. I can't wait to hear from Dr. Howard. DreamSpire Books Virtual Launch Box. Everything you need for a successful virtual book launch in one place. Timelines, press release templates, social media advertising info, graphic design, an interview on our streaming network, and a personal coaching session. Don't forget your thank yous and so much more. Visit us at www.dreamspirebooks.com for more information. There you go. You have a chance to connect, and we're going to bring in I'm going to pull you over here to the big screen. How are you? Thank you for hanging in there with us.
I am doing wonderful, and thank you for having me. This is an awesome platform.
Well, great. This is our first virtual book fair, so I didn't want to say first, but this is our first one, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm very encouraged to have some more. And I've enjoyed each and every one that is shared the screen with us today. I'm dying to get to this, but it's all good. Purpose in the pains, okay?
Exactly.
So we can hang. So you have a different genre than we talk. I think you and Jane were a little similar
Mhm.
in the type of writing that you do, but how did you get into writing sci-fi?
Well, I've always been interested in space and whatever form it came in ever since I was little. My parents told me that when I was 3, if Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood was on and if I was in the room, if I wasn't doing anything, I might look at it, but I knew what time and what channel to turn Star Trek on.
Okay.
So just growing up, anything I could get my hands on, Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, any kind of sci-fi show, I would always watch it. And I'd also go to the library and read any of the NASA space books I could get my hands on.
Okay, so did you ever want to go to space camp?
Oh, always. My parents always told me that they couldn't afford it, so they couldn't send me. But my senior year in high school, I found out about an essay contest. They said, if you're the director of NASA, would you choose between, and you had limited funds, would you choose between a space station, a moon base, or a Mars mission, and why? And I figured creativity is one of the criteria, so I couldn't choose any one of those and be creative enough to win. So I designed my own spacecraft that I called the Mobile Space Base. And it could orbit as a space station, it could be transformed into an interplanetary spacecraft, and it could land and serve as a planetary base. So I could do all three. And I got the scholarships. I got to go to space camp.
That's awesome. That's a great story. I'm like, I just knew space camp was somewhere in your history. I just knew you had to go to space camp. Now,
Absolutely.
have you ever thought about actually? So they just had the first black astronaut to spend time, male astronaut to spend time in the space station. Would you
Well,
actually ever
he's
want to go to outer space?
absolutely. Now he's the first black person to be a space station crew member, but he is the seventh or eighth, don't quote me on that, black person to visit the space station.
Right, right.
During the shuttle program, when they were assembling the space station, a number of different African American astronauts were on the shuttle crews. But he's the first one who's a station crew member.
See, I just have
And he's a great guy, too.
all these facts in my head. They come in handy.
But yeah, I would love to go to space. I want to go to the moon.
All right. Well, hey, it could definitely be in your future. You got to go to space camp. The
Yep.
next is the moon. So tell us about your book, Nubian Star Nation.
Yes. So it combines 3 different subgenres of science fiction. It's space opera, and that's what Star Wars or Star Trek is. It also is alternate history. That's when the timeline has changed and what's happened in the past isn't what happened in our history books. And it combines astrofuturism, which is science fiction that deals with Black culture or Black themes. So I kind of rolled all those together. I was inspired because I felt like people weren't appreciating Black history enough, especially younger people. When I grew up, we were going to civil rights, our parents were taking us to civil rights programs, and it was people who actually were part of the civil rights struggle. And of course, it's been a while now, so there aren't many people who were actually there anymore. And so I think it's kind of been relegated to history books and something people don't look at or pay attention to. So I said, rather than write a history essay, which no one would want to read, why don't I take science fiction? And science fiction has always been able to alter reality and change it to tell stories, and use science fiction to showcase the Black experience. So instead of showing exactly what happened, I take the spirit of it. I even take the names of it. Every name in the character matches a name that's related to Black history.
That's amazing. I love that concept for sure. It's a lot of things I like to rewrite. Definitely. And we don't even have to go back in time for that. Especially being here in Georgia. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
it's been an interesting time. And I love that. And I think even for our history, I one thing I can say to 2020 has given people civic lessons and
Hmm.
history lessons, and that you're not going to get that we didn't learn in the book,
Right.
and we didn't learn in 28 days in February, where we were only told about Martin Luther King and then
Hmm.
his nemesis, as they would want to paint it, Malcolm X, um, and of course Harriet Tubman, and you can almost count on one hand
Hmm.
the history that we were given,
Exactly.
and we didn't know. And so I love the concept of marrying history with futurism, and being able to change the stories, and tell new stories. And so I love all of that. So how long has your book been out? And I know you said you were busy during the pandemic, but what else is in store on this journey?
So it's in progress. I don't get to spend the time I want on it because my day job, I actually do work for NASA, so that's my day job.
Okay.
And I put everything into that, so it doesn't leave a lot of leftover time. It's the kind of job where it can be night, it can be the weekend, and you're doing work and you don't feel bad about doing it. You don't even want necessarily care that you don't have a charge code for it because you love what you're doing. But for the book, that's a disadvantage because I don't have as much time to work on the book as I want work as I want. But so I published the first book in 2016. It was really, I'd been working on that one since 2010-ish. And it was just when I would get some time, I would write on it. Then I'd get busy and have to leave it and come back and write some more. I published book 2 in 2019. I'm working on book 3 now. I'm not sure if this is going to be a 3-part or 4-part series. I know where I want it to go, but I'm not sure if I can get there in one book or if I need 2 more books to do it. So it may be a 4-parter.
Well, that's it's just fascinating. So I really want to get into part of the story. I mean, I'm just really fascinated about the whole thing. I like the concept of space. I don't think I really want to go to space myself. I barely want to get on a plane. Even though we grew up flying, I think I took my first flight when I was about 8 years old. So I'm
Hmm.
not afraid of flying, but it's just not my favorite thing to do. I'm just like, Lord, just let the plane land. Um, I want to. I have a passport. I want to go to Dubai, but I'm thinking like, what's that? 20 some hours, and it's some ridiculous amount of time in the air. So, yeah, but I would definitely love to hear a part of that story. I'm truly fascinated.
Sure. Well, let me give you some backstory first. So remember I said the timeline's been changed.
Hmm.
So in order to put our experience in the future, I had to change the past.
Hmm.
So I took one significant thing that really positively affected our future and made it not happen. So the South wins the Civil War in this timeline. The Confederacy takes over. And they don't just take over, they take over the whole planet. Then they start colonizing outer space. But in the year 2165, there's a global slave revolt. And 1.5 million slaves use that rebellion as an opportunity to escape. They steal ships and they escape into deep space. They travel for 16,000 light years. And on June 19th, 2205, they settle on a new world. It's actually, they discover a solar system with 7 worlds that they settle. And that becomes the beginning of the Nubian Star Nation. My novel picks up about 400 years into the Nubian Star Nation. And so if you like, I can read you an excerpt from chapter 2. This is sort
Sure.
of, my hero's name is Roscoe Brown. So he and his best friend, Willa Chapel, are going to school together. This is in 9th grade. So it's at a school called Samuel Sharp High School. Mr. Bass Reeves, 9th grade homeroom. So you have to look up Bass Reeves sometime and see who he is. In a city called Allensworth City, you need to look up Allensworth and see what that is. on a planet called the Liberated States of America. So, like the architecture at all other Nubian schools, the classrooms at Sharp High School are built in domed 12-sided hemispheres. About a third of each dodecadon-shaped classroom has the desks arranged for seated lecture instruction, with the remaining two-thirds of the room organized as a more open lab and workshop area. Students are seated at their desk in two circular rows forming a 90-degree arc around the teacher's desk, and three large view screens are arranged for supplementing instruction with enhanced visual images. Three aisles between the seats effectively organize the desk into four-student groups. That's the Bell class, Mr. Bass Reeve begins, with his usual high-energy approach. Clearly in his 60s or older, and sporting a head full of gray, Mr. Reeve is as vibrant as men half his age. Despite a limp in his step, he moves quickly around the room, scrutinizing each student with piercing eyes that hint at a much more adventurous life prior to his becoming a teacher. Now, what are my 5 mottos for living, he asks, as he wraps his cane on the floor. Pausing briefly and looking sharply at his class, he begins the first motto in a call and response format. Work together or fail apart, class responds. What you don't know, he continues with the second motto, can kill you, the class responds. If it's in a book, Mr. Reeves starts the third motto, striking his cane at a case filled with books and data crystals. There's no excuse for not knowing it, the class responds. Know what was said, he begins the fourth motto, and why it was said, the class responds. And, Mr. Reeve prompts with a sharp strike of the cane on the floor. And what wasn't said, the class responds. And, Mr. Reeve responds, striking the floor again. And why it wasn't said, the class responds. Be informed, Mr. Reeve starts the fifth motto, or be a fool, the class concludes. You're getting it, Mr. Reeve congratulates in an intense voice. Now the motto of the Nubian Star Nation. Before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my God and be free, the class shouts in unison. Be what, he asks. Be free, the class shouts back. Be what, he asks again. Be free, the class shouts a little louder. Be what, he asks a third time. Be free, the class shouts even louder. Well, good then, we can begin, Mr. Reeve declares. I ended there.
Okay, so what came to my mind is 2020.
Very, very, very much so.
2020. So back to the future.
Yes, and this was written in 2015, published in 2016.
Yes, so I definitely see the parallels to this altered state of reality that we now find ourselves in. And it's funny, I know you can't tell by the accent, but I'm from Southern California. I've been in the South for a while, thus the accent.
Mm-hmm.
But to find myself in 2020 in Georgia, it's been kind of a surreal experience, the things that we've been through in the last few weeks, no matter what you believe or who you voted for. It's just been very surreal, the things that are happening. And like I said, I really love how you're teaching as well as telling. And we do need to know our history beyond those 28 days and what we hear. And I think even for myself, since I moved to Atlanta, I've learned more about civil rights and human rights than I definitely knew in California. I am a part of an organization, even though I don't spend much time with it these days, is the Stewart Foundation, and with Hank Stewart. And he made it one of his goals to really teach not only the children but adults our history. And one of the opportunities I had, and this might sound like a weird opportunity, but he said you need to attend the funeral of Dr. Laurie. Now, not Dr. Laurie who just passed, his wife, Dr. Laurie. And in doing that, it was like the history book came to life. And to be in the room with so many people like Ruby Bridges, and oh gosh, I can't. And just if you name it, they were there. They were there. Al Sharpton, so many luminaries current civil rights and past civil rights, and I had a chance to listen to some of the stories after, as the funeral was concluding, and we were just kind of standing around, and it just really it opened my eyes to a lot of things that I didn't know. You only knew the stories, and one thing that was told that really stuck with me and lived with me was there's so many that are not around to tell the story because they never lived through it.
Yeah.
And so many stories died with them. And so you're doing a definitely a great work, Dr. Howard. And I know one day I'll see you on the space station or somewhere in space. So yeah, thank you for sharing. And so we're going to put your information up here. You're going to have your book online, and we look to hear more from you. You know, check out what we're doing, and then we're going to put this up, and then we're going to come back and close out.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure.
Likewise. So there you have it. So we're going to get some history, some sci-fi, some current events mixed with past events. Definitely connect with the book. Let me put, I think I need to put up the other graphic so that you can actually connect with that. Give me a second there, but thank you for joining us today, all that have joined us. And make sure you connect with these authors. We'll have that up in a minute, but make sure you connect with all of these authors up there so you can connect. You know how to use the QR code. I will, for all the authors that were here today, I will send you this graphic so you can use it as however you see fit to. You can print it out and have people, you know, it'd be a way for them to connect with you instantly and to get your book. Okay, I see Dr. Howard, did it work for you?
Yes, it did. I was testing it just to make sure.
Yeah, I saw you. It works. I tested it. I may not work for NASA, but I'm a little handy there. So definitely the codes work, and you can use them and connect with all of our authors. So we're going to close this out. So it's just the four of us, and that's all good. But I want to give you a chance just to, you know, I just want to give some instant feedback. So what do you think about this platform, and will you be doing more of these type of things? We'll start with LaShawn, Ms. Grimes.
Yes, I have thoroughly enjoyed this amazing platform. I think it's so valuable because as authors and writers, we really don't get an opportunity to share our story, and people don't know the author behind the book. And so therefore, I think this is an amazing opportunity. I have thoroughly enjoyed myself and the other authors. You guys keep doing an amazing job and keep moving forward, because I see many more books inside of you. So get them out, because I'm birthing some more as I speak. So thank you so much for the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to doing it.
You're most welcome. How about you? You're muted. Unmute your mic.
I'm sorry. I have enjoyed this tremendously. I mean, just getting to know other authors' work and being able to, you know, like network basically with them. And I'm just stunned over Dr. Roberts' book, because I am a Star Trek, all that fanatic, and I will be getting that. But all the books that were on here, I have a new library because I'm going to get every one of them. And just having the different genres, you know, like the children's book, and then the story with the two ladies about Sugar Mama, and I mean, it's just been really awesome. And I would love to keep doing this. I mean, this seems like this is the new way anyway. that we're going to be um, connecting, as far as virtual. So this is a great safe way to talk to other authors and also get your material out there. And thank you so much for having me on this panel.
Most welcome.
And I love this platform too. To me, even though it's been a while since I started writing, I hadn't been connected with anyone. So I was kind of doing it off on my own, more or less at the bottom of a pit, writing it and putting it online, but really not connecting with anybody. So this is so special to me to be able to form these connections, to learn the things that other people are doing, like the book trailer. That's something new for me that I think that's going to be great for me to have. Just this opportunity to learn from others who've been doing this more successfully, longer, with greater volume. It's so much that I can learn from.
Well, good. I love. I was a little nervous myself because this is the first. Even though we do a lot of things in the author space, to open this up and to have our virtual fair, and I'm excited. I've enjoyed each and every one of you being here, and I thank you for investing in this opportunity, your money and your time to be with us today. And we look at this will be the first of many more, and we just want to improve on the experience and grow from it and help you in any way that you can. So tell your friends about it. If you're not already subscribing to our platform, subscribe to our platform. It's free, it's no charge to subscribe. And just get the word of mouth out. The DreamSpire Books is a platform that really cares about you as an author and really wants to continue to bring you the tools and resources so that you can amplify your voice. And that's what our whole platform is about. So it's been some hours, and I'm gonna say thank you for joining us, and I'll take you out the stream, and I'm gonna close out here. All
Goodbye.
right,
Thank you.
have a
Bye
good
bye.
one. You're
Thank you.
welcome. Bye bye. So, thank you for everyone who has taken the time to join us today at our first virtual book fair. We enjoyed you. If you want to know about our platform, you'll see it right up there, www.dreamspirebooks.com. We do television shows. We have close to 200 authors that are connected with us in our bookstore. And we have a lot of resources to help you do your trailers, to do a lot of stuff. So connect with us on DreamSpire Books. Follow us on Facebook. Join. We have a group, and we also have a fan page. Uh, Join us for both. And until the next time, like I said, I had a spectacular time today. All right. Have a great evening.